Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. I have just a little presentation, and then if there's questions or anything, we can definitely go out and go at that. So, I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see if I do this right. All right. So, basically, I'm going to give you a little overview of why we even need research, what is it that we're doing, and how we do it. So just sort of real quickly, and then get into some questions or specifics if you have any that you need. Um, like Gloria said, my name's Ty Buxman. I am faculty in science, computer science engineering. I'm holding the Dean of Research role. I've been at Flintridge Sacred Heart for this is my 24th year. So I've been around the block a couple of times, I guess, and seen a lot of development and changes in education over the last few years. And so it's really sort of exciting time to be thinking about what is research, how do we teach? Teaching is changing a lot over the last 10 years, it's changed a lot and it's continuing to change. And so I don't know, sometimes that's depressing, but sometimes that's also really exciting. So we like to think about the exciting part of it. So first of all, why do we even need research? So back in 2011, our faculty, we were doing just a curriculum audit, thinking about what are we doing, what are we teaching, and we went to some resources that the UC and Cal State faculty put together and said, what do freshmen in college need? What do they like? They're coming to us. What do they need to already be expert in? Because we're not going to teach them this, right? And from those resources, this is more than 10 years ago now. College freshmen need to know how to find topics, how to understand research, using library catalogs and databases, all of these things, citations. The UC and Cal State faculty are saying, we're not going to teach them these things. We're expecting that they know this coming in. And they need, a freshman in college needs to know how to write a paper, sort of a traditional humanities paper. Need to know how to present things orally. They need to do digital writing, scientific research. Um, and as a faculty, we're like, oh, we got this, right? College prep, we're doing all of this. But while we were doing our audit, we realized prior to 2011, which is when we did this, actually only some of, FSHA graduates got all of this, right? And it turned out, surprisingly, that it was mostly our honors and AP students that were missing out on skill building. They were really focused on the sort of rigorous content that AP courses require. And we had some graduates that were graduating top of their class that had never written a paper, right? Longer than 3 or 4 pages. And we're like, oh, that surprised us. And that sort of discussion or realization sort of put us on the track towards this research program. And so this was, 10 years ago. And I think about, so what's changed in the last 10 years? Is all of this still same? And really, the only thing that's really changed on this list is that the digital literacy piece is even more important as we're talking about evaluating sources. What's the difference between fact and opinion? How do you tell the difference? The entire world of generative AI didn't exist in 2011. What are primary sources? How do you even get those anymore in this digital age? So, all of those things just become more important as we're sort of getting our students ready for college and for life beyond. So I think that sort of sets the why. Like we have our job as a college prep school is to, get students ready to walk into their freshman first year course and say, I got these things in the bag. I know how to do these things. So that's what we're working with in our research program. So what did we do about it? Well, so starting in 2013, we created a 4-year research curriculum. And that 4-year curriculum that's been in place really had that goal of making sure that every student, honors, not honors, regular, highest student, lowest student, whatever you are, if you graduate from Flintridge Sacred Heart, you have those information literacy experiences that are required for success, that baseline foundation and expertise that the college professors are expecting. And that meant that we had to pull it out of classes because some classes, like not everybody gets AP English, or not everybody gets world history too, right? Some people are taking different schedules based on, sort of where their interests are and what their academic ability is. So we sort of had to pull that 4-year curriculum out of classes and put it across the curriculum. And what we realized in that is a couple of things. One, research, which sort of is housing these skill building, it's complex and it's challenging. So our seniors sort of do this list on the left: topic development, problem statements, source location, all of these things. We realize that you can't just ask students to do that. We have to teach them all of these things, right? Some of this seems like hypothesis construction. It's not obvious or it's not automatic. And so we developed the curriculum to teach all of those skills. And in that process, we sort of realized that right side list is that research is and can be is flexible and customizable. We can do it lots of different ways, right? Little mini lessons, project-based, individual, team, activities, games, papers, not papers. Um, and so we sort of are building on our flexibility and our nimbleness as a small school, that we can sort of try lots of different things and give our faculty lots of sort of freedom and flexibility to design and integrate new ways of building these skills. And then my job as research coordinator and dean is to make sure that it all comes together into a program that everybody gets that experience. So that's sort of what we're doing and what we're going about it. So how does that actually look in our curriculum? Well, over 4 years, we obviously don't start guns blazing as a freshman writing a 20-page paper, right? Freshmen really are working on skills development. All freshmen are taking the same 4 classes: English, biology, PE, health, and religion. And so, in those classes where we know all the freshmen have the same curriculum, we're doing a lot of that skills development. So, all of the things that are on that list, we're priming the pump and we're getting them started in there in terms of how to use databases and how to write a thesis. What is a thesis? Like, oh, I got taught one thing and somebody else got taught another thing in the 8th grade. We're able to sort of level everybody up and make sure everybody's on the same page. And in 10th grade, we continue that. Again, everybody takes world history, chemistry, religion. They might be in all different levels of English or math or foreign language, but they're all in those same classes. So we're using those classes to do some of that basic skill building. By the time we get to 11th grade, that's where we dive full in. The 11th grade, we have a junior research project. That's a full year project that's embedded in our junior religion course. It's ethics and social justice. That becomes sort of a traditional humanities paper where the students finally get to own their own project. This is their topic and their project. The students pick the topic as long as it has something to do with ethics and social justice, which, to be fair, is almost everything in the world right now. The students then dive in and figure out what they want to learn and what are the rights and the wrongs and what does everybody think. And then they have to take a position and write a persuasive paper. They end up with a 10 to 12, 15-page paper that provides the background that they're the expert on and turns that into a position paper. And that's their first like big full paper that takes a full year, and we sort of scaffold that all the way along. And so right now in that project, students are just about to identify their thesis, having done lots and lots and lots of reading and writing over the last 3 months. And then as seniors, we take one more step and say, this is not a project embedded as part of another class, but it's a whole class. So the senior research project, these are our seminar capstone courses. Every senior has to take an entire full year course where the goal is to do research in a particular topic area. And so what you see listed there are the 7 courses that we have right now that we offer. and you can see a whole range of humanities and science and engineering and political science and it's just math. It's across the board. Students find the course that they're interested in, and then we use that as a basis for doing a project. And they initiate that project at the beginning from conception all the way to the end where they're doing the oral presentation, the written paper. And part of the beauty of this scheme in research is that it recognizes that not all research ends up with a paper, right? So it could be, I mean, it could be a product if you're in an engineering class, it could be a graph that's in, if you're in scientific research or statistics, it could be a political advocacy campaign. It could, right? So it could be a sit-in or a teach-in. It could, right? So there's lots of ways that we manifest the results of this research, connecting in service, connecting in really real world experience in these fields. And so this is what's fun about the senior year is the students kind of get to go wild with their ideas and say like, boy, I'm an expert on this. I think this. Here's how I'm going to do it. And so that's sort of the basis of how we're going about developing all of the skills that these students will need as freshmen and beyond in college. So maybe then the obvious question is, great, you've been doing this for 10 years. Does it work? Well, I guess the only way we really know that it works is sort of the alumni that come back. So I have a couple of alumni that I'm going to highlight, and I picked these out mostly because I've seen them in the last 2 months. These two alumni have come. So Cassandra and Lily were students last year. They just graduated that were in psychology. And I'll tell this story. So they came back, we invited them back, and they were so happy to be invited back to come talk to this year's psychology students. These girls at the beginning of their class, they weren't partners. They were just kind of in psychology. They were learning stuff, and they kind of got thrown together as partners for a project and developed sort of like, oh, we're sort of interested in this, we're interested in that, and came up with this. What you see there is their final research poster for the research showcase. They ended up studying collective nostalgia and trying to figure out how that affects behavior and how that affects how we think about things. The reason I tell I sort of am thinking about these girls is because I think maybe 2 weeks before the research showcase in May at the end of the year, Lily came to me and said, I'm out. I can't do it. I don't know enough about psychology. Granted, she's been studying more like all year. They invented this sort of little chart and mechanism for thinking about nostalgia. They invented in their preliminary results an entire like psychological index in order to explain their results, which is really pretty astounding for high school girls. And she's like, I just don't, she did not feel like she knew enough or was expert enough. And she was nervous about, maybe a psychologist being in the room when she was presenting and asking her questions. And we worked through that. We talked through it. And I'll just say these two both presented and they just nailed it, knocked it out of the park at their showcase. And 3 months later, in September, when they came back to school as right before they went off to college, they came back to talk to the psychology students. These girls raved about this process in psychology in the class from the original idea all the way through presenting when they were terrified was the foundational piece in their high school career, right? They are now best friends. They were acquaintances before. They're just like, oh, we got thrown together and they sort of went through the fire together and they sort of talk about the relational piece of that, but also talk very eloquently about how foundational this was and how this became when they think back of their experience at school. It was all of the other stuff, but it was academically, this was what sort of lights a fire under them. And I think they're both sort of going into psychology now because of their experience there, right? And at least taking classes, whether they'll major in that or not, but they're like, this was such a good experience. We really want to learn more. And it became a really good experience for them. The second one that I'll tell you about is Emily. Emily graduated in 2021, went to Purdue, is a software engineer, now is working as a software engineer at Disney. Um, Emily was in school, sort of the prototypical perfectionist who I don't want to turn anything in until it's perfect, right? And it caused her problems academically because she was too worried about turning in imperfect work. And going through the engineering program, so we sort of have I talked to her about learning how to fail forward, right? Like you're going to not get things right, but as long as you're failing and sort of using that to make progress. Um, she was back a couple weeks ago talking to our current seniors, and somebody asked her something. I don't even know what the question was, but her response was that this honors engineering mindset, or the engineering mindset, it got baked into her more than she thought it did. She ended up talking about this project she did as a senior. She said that was the core of her resume for the first 3 years of college, as she's applying for internships, as she's applying for summer jobs, because there was so much there in terms not only the product, what they ended up building, and I mean you can see in the pictures they ended up building a little device that measured biometrics to try to detect emotion. So they were using artificial intelligence to do data analysis before ChatGPT came out, before that became sort of the thing. And they built this, actually, that was the COVID year. So they built that mostly at home. And so these are some Zoom pictures of them with their little devices taped to their hats and to their heads. But that process for them of diving in deep and struggling and it not working and not working and finally working a little bit and then not working became such a great story for her to tell throughout the next few years that it really marked how she thought about making progress um, in science, in engineering, but in academics, and what was allowed or what was not allowed in terms of how to fail and how to succeed. And so she talks a lot about that, and it became sort of a marker for that. I could talk. I mean, we had hours. I could just keep naming off alumni who reflect these same kinds of stories. So when we talk about whether this research program works, whether it's valuable, whether we're doing it right, I would say the proof is in the pudding, right? We get these alumni back who say, this is how it worked for me, and this is how it's useful. So I'll just end with the other piece that's interesting is we have this journal of student academic research. Um, at the end of, for the last 5 or 6 years, we've been publishing these senior research projects and a few of the junior ones on that website. So if you want to sort of see what the end products are for some of these, go ahead and you can go there and browse around whatever you want. But that's where we're sort of keeping our updated and students get published, right? It's not peer-reviewed journal by any means, but they have a place that they can point to their work and it becomes something that they can look at, 2 years, 3 years down when they're applying for internships or summer jobs or anything like that. So I say that's one way to look ahead. And then also in May 20 something, we have our senior research showcase where the seniors will come and actually give presentations. We do poster session and we do invited talks, and that's an open to the public kind of event. So I would say that's another good way to sort of find out what kinds of things the students are doing, and more importantly than the product that they produce, how did it change how they think about thinking, and how did it change how they think about academics and their interaction with the world around them. So there's a couple of good opportunities for you to get sort of firsthand knowledge with students as well. So that's sort of our research program in a nutshell. It's pretty exciting way to go about teaching these skills and getting students involved. I don't know if we have questions to go along or people are curious about other things, but feel free to jump in and ask those. I don't know. Should I stop sharing my screen? I'll stop sharing. If
Thank
there's
you.
if there's questions or things in the chat, then that's also
Hi, I did have a question. We oftentimes highlight, our principal, Rebecca Bostic, does that. What's unique about our research program is that it's a 4-year program. Many schools have research programs but very few require all 4 grades to conduct research. Could you speak about how we incorporate these skills into the English and history curriculums and how it kind of ramps up to teach them these presentation skills and research skills?
Yeah, I mean, that's 100% true. A lot of schools, I say every school has students who do research, right? Our program is foundational in that we ensure that every student does research, regardless of its like some students are going to do research no matter what. They're the best students. They're going to find their ways to excel. Um, so we're intentionally making sure that that's spread out everywhere. Um, maybe an example is freshman English right now. Freshman English is um, like I don't even know if we'd call it a research project, but they're reading a graphic novel, Persepolis, and they're working on trying to understand the context around that novel. And so, how do you do that? Well, you have to go and you're not going to get all of that information from a graphic novel. You're going to have to read a little bit more about Iran, and you're going to have to read a little bit more about what is life like in, I think it was set in the 90s or 2000s in Iran, right? So, what is that political context? What is that cultural context? And so the girls have to say, okay, how do I find that about? How do I find out about that? Nobody's giving me. So where do I find the sources? Right? I'm not necessarily going to find a lot of that information on TikTok or on Instagram. And so I have to find those resources. So we're teaching them where do you go get those resources? How do we read those? If it's a blog, you read it one way. If it's an academic paper, you have to read it a little bit different. Um, and so they're doing that, and then they have to write a thesis, right? And maybe a one paragraph um, description that shows, oh, here's what I think is going on culturally or politically or religiously or whatever context they pick. And then they have to provide some evidence. So even at the freshman level, where we're not saying write a big long paper, write a one paragraph, but we're showing the process for you have to have an idea and you have to have that idea connected to evidence, right? And that happens freshman English. It's a 3 or 4 week project, right? We might do the same thing in PE health, right? Where, okay, we're not doing Iran or Persepolis, but we're looking at, maybe the question is, what's the best Olympic sport? Okay, so everybody's got an opinion. What's some evidence? How do you write about that? How do you communicate that? Are you communicating that in a written paragraph or a video? Or maybe in that case, your product is a TikTok video to convince somebody with evidence that you have the best Olympic sport. And so in every one of those classes, freshman level to start with, we're doing little pieces of that process to build those skills so that by the time they're juniors, every single student has that foundational skill level that they can pick their own topic and like branch out and do what they're interested in if it's not Olympic sports or Persepolis, right? Um, and so that's the difference is that we're scaffolding and skill building from freshmen and then even through seniors. I mean, I'm still teaching seniors, oh, here's one more sort of complexity. You've never had to cite this kind of scientific paper. And it's not your fault. It's not that you missed anything. You've just never had to do it before. So now let's teach you that. So even we're doing skill building even with seniors, but it's context relevant.
Thank you. This is just such an amazing program. We will be inviting prospective families to our showcase event in the spring. It is, I would say, our most impressive academic presentation in terms of just it represents what we value, how we teach, how we inspire our students. So that invitation will come next year. If there are any other questions, we are happy to answer. Feel free to place in the chat. Otherwise, this video will be made available to you on our website on the admission page. And the PowerPoint presentation that was presented will also be included as well and can be shared with others who weren't able to be here tonight. I do see that we have a question here. Thank you so much. They are
Yeah,
typing,
go
or
ahead.
feel free to speak.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, unmute and ask.
Okay, we can unmute and ask. I was trying
Okay.
to keep up with the typing. So, hi.
No problem. Yes, thank
I was like,
you.
oh, we have to type. And I was like, type, type. So I'm sorry about the GHS lots,
That's
Paloma,
okay.
and my name's Anna. So we just wanted to know, and I'm sorry because I think I misunderstood on the time. So I kind of missed a little bit of the beginning. If you said
Okay.
this already, I apologize. But when is the topic chosen and how much time do the girls have to start developing that topic? Like if they change their mind along the way and that.
For the senior research project, you mean? So
Yes, and I missed if you talked about a junior one. I'm
no,
sorry.
no. So yeah, so for example, I mean, so the juniors do a research project within the religion class, and they pick a
Okay.
topic that has social justice ethics, right? And we build in time into that class, and so that process might be 2 or 3 weeks where they're doing some exploration, and then let's say they pick a topic and they do some more reading. Oh, wait, I want to change. But at
Hmm.
some point, you pick a topic, right?
Hmm.
And senior research project is a little bit more extended and it depends on the class. So,
Hmm.
for example, in science and engineering, we start the summer before, right?
Hmm.
We do a lot of reading and a lot of exploration the summer before. In women's and gender studies, they
Hmm.
do a lot of content progression in the class. So they
Hmm.
might not get to actual topic um, like selection
Hmm.
until like right now, I think they have a topic proposal and they're
Hmm.
just solidifying that now, sort of early November, late October, right? So
Hmm.
we're that whole process of sort of picking an area that's viable, um, might be a 2 or 3 month process. Um, and depending on when we start, I mean, some girls come in August 1st and say, "Here's what I want to do." Right?
Yeah.
And then our job as faculty in that, like as seniors at least, is to say, "Great, is that viable? Do we have the equipment? Do we have the expertise? Do we have the resources? Is that a That's a great idea. Is that a 3 week project?
Right.
It's not a good idea because it doesn't allow you to expand enough. Or is that a 3 year project? Also not
Hmm.
a good idea because you only have 1 year, right?
Okay.
And try to navigate scope, and we try to navigate
Hmm.
um, sort of what's going to be a good experience. And like we grow the small projects and we shrink the big ones, and just try to sort of figure out a way to make things viable. For us, the investment key is if if you're interested in your topic,
Yeah.
it will work. We'll
Oh,
find
great.
a way to make it work.
And at that point, you're saying by the time the girls get to senior year, I guess they go out to you all as faculty with their interests, and it kind of just depends on what they want. And then, like, you'd be working with the engineering
It,
people, and some kids would be working with it. Is that kind of
well,
it?
they all take a class, so they
Uh-huh.
would sign. They're like, oh, I'm in the engineering class, or the psychology class, or the stats class, and
Ah,
that's their primary mechanism, right?
okay,
I
I
will say,
see.
if you're interested in some ways, the research is it is class specific, but the research is also um, primary, right? And
Yeah.
so, for example, if you're interested in neurobiology,
Mm.
okay, what class are you going to take? Are you going to take science? Are you going to take engineering? Are you going to take psychology? Are you going to take statistics? Are you going to take gender studies? Are you going to take art? Are you going to take government? And I would
Right.
say all of those you can study neurobiology in, right? So, do you want to look at neurobiology and say, in engineering last year, we had some girls working on a mechanism to help sort of early diagnosis of like Alzheimer's or dementia.
Hmm. Wow.
Neurobiology problem, but they're looking at the application piece, right?
Mm.
In government, you might say, I'm looking at rights, right? And access to political care or medical care for people that have neurobiological disorders.
Wow.
Completely different
Yeah.
application, but the same area of interest, right?
Wow.
In gender studies, in psychology, in stats. So you could say, I'm interested in neurobio, then you would maybe as a junior come start talking to me or talking to other teachers and say, here's what I'm interested in. What's the best class for me?
Oh, wow. That
And your
sounds great.
and your counselor would sort of help you as well. Um,
So
other,
lots of guidance helping the girls
yeah,
direct
yeah, yeah, yeah.
passion and interest.
Yeah. You don't have to.
So,
It's not like on your first day of class on senior year where you're like, quick, what's your topic? And now you're
yeah, that's
right?
right.
That's not how it works. It develops over time, and there's not really any pressure on that because as freshmen and sophomores, as you're building those skills, you'll
Mhm.
also attend that research fair and you'll be able to
Mhm.
see, as freshmen, you're going to see 100 senior research topics and you're
Right.
going to be like, oh, those four are really cool. And
Right.
that's
So
going to
you're
start churning your head. And the next year, you're going to be like, oh, wait, those other four are really cool. And you're going
right.
to start churning. So by the time you're a junior, senior, some of your interests are going to be like aligned with
Sharpened, aligned.
classes
Yeah. Yeah.
sharpened. Yeah, yeah. So nobody has ever come into those classes and come November realize I don't have any topic or any interest.
Mm.
It just doesn't happen.
Great. Great. Did you say one?
Yeah, so are those classes like is that just like a research class or is that like an elective?
I think it's
Uh,
required.
Is it just
both,
required?
both. I mean, so some of them. So yeah, it's an elective research class. So if you're taking scientific research, that's going to be an elective, right? If you're taking government, that's going to be an elective, but it also like there's also a government requirement, right, to graduate.
Like they go hand in hand.
So if you take the government class, you get your graduation requirement and you get your research class, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Statistics can be your math, um, but the other ones, psychology, gender studies, engineering, art, those are all just pure electives, right? So
Okay.
everybody takes one of them, right? The graduation requirement is that you're in at least one of those classes.
Okay.
Sounds pretty flexible.
Also, are
Thank you.
these can be I heard you mention a group of like girls doing psychology. Is this in groups or is
It depends. So we've got kids doing individual projects. We also have girls doing joint projects, right?
okay.
So
Mm.
I have a class right now with a trio in psychology that are looking at because this is our first year with a locked up cell phones, right? No cell phones on campus.
Ah,
And
yes.
so in psychology, they're like, okay, what does that work?
Mm.
What are the impacts of that? Is that helping academics? Is
Mm.
your brain working better? Is your social interactions better? Is it worse? So that's their psychology project. And there's three girls that are working together on that. And so it's very relevant, very now. And at the end of the year, everybody's going to be interested.
Mhm.
Wait, so they locked up all their phones. Did it work or didn't it? Right? What's the psychology of that?
That's
Um, and then we have other students that are just like, oh no, I'm working alone. Somebody's working on does trauma, like, and they're specifically looking at the fires that happened
mm.
in January. Do traumatic experiences affect anxiety and grades? How
Wow.
does that work, right? And so
Wow.
it's like, oh yeah, also very relevant, very now. But she's like, she wanted to work alone, and she's like, she didn't have, right? And she's like, oh, I'm going to do that on my own. I'm very interested in it, and so she's by herself. So there's not a rule. It has to be pairs or it has to be individual. Some of that happens naturally. Um, but yeah, those are sort of example topics from my psych class this year.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. That was great.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And I'll put myself on mute again.
Anybody else have anything?
Okay. Oh,
Hi, sorry, we just wanted to say during your open house, the girls in the library did share some details on the research project. The boards were up, and there was a girl that was presenting. I think she was in the government elective course, and she was telling us about this really interesting research project on the impacts of the ice raids. It was just, I know that you're looking at the data and looking at, the graduates once they're in college and seeing whether, this is working. Just the detail and the enthusiasm of the presentation of what they were sharing with us, the way they were sharing the information, the passion behind it, their comfort level of comfort in speaking publicly with strangers.
Mhm.
I feel like it's definitely successful. It was very impressive for us. We were just looking at all the boards like, wow, this
Yeah.
is a high school senior, preparing this material. It's, it looks to me like college level, very impressive. And so we just wanted to share that. And that's why we wanted to come on here to just hear
Yeah.
a little bit more about how it works.
Thank you. I think that the one you're talking about was Jane Hernandez, and she's an interesting story because she started out on our science engineering track, right? When she started as a freshman, she was like, I'm going to be an engineer. She was in engineering classes and programming. And now as a senior, she's full on like political science, immigration, right? So it shows that one, we grow up, we learn, we learn new things, we have different interests, and nobody's shoehorned, right? I mean, yes, I was sad to lose Jane in engineering because she's such a great person and very passionate, but I'm so happy that she's in government and able to sort of find that passion and really able to communicate that. And so that's a great example of how we didn't worry and she didn't worry as a like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm just going to pursue this for a while. Now I'm going to pursue this for a while. And she's finding her niche. And yeah, just that sort of both sides ability to talk about those things like that are be able to articulate that. You're absolutely right that that is not something that you see out of high schoolers, right? The level of work that we're getting out of, I would say 90% of our seniors is junior, senior level college work. And it's just because we require it and they love it and step up and do it, right? It's not really pulling teeth that much at all. So yeah. So thanks
Yeah,
for mentioning that.
sure. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for joining us.
Yeah.
As I shared, we will be posting this video. I did include the research journal in the chat. I know Mr. Buxman also shared the QR code, but I really encourage you to take a look at the journal to see what our students worked on this past year. And feel free to contact us if you have any questions and concerns as you move forward through the application process. So thank you so much. I'm grateful for your time and enjoy your evening. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Buxman.
Thanks, Gloria. And I'll share that slide deck with you so that you have that to publish.
Wonderful. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Enjoy your
everyone.
night.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.